Congress passed President Trump's request to rescind $9.4 billion, and it launched Crypto Week amid record-breaking Bitcoin prices. This unfolded against the backdrop of catastrophic floods in Texas, prompting fresh scrutiny of federal agencies during fiscal tightening. $9.4 billion rescissions package. What was described as a gut check vote by Senator John Kennedy, Republican Louisiana, Congress sent the $9.4 billion rescissions package to President Trump's desk. The package drew stark division. Proponents argued it follows through on voter mandates, while opponents, like Senators Susan Collins, Republican Maine, and Lisa Murkowski, Republican Alaska, warned of dangerous cuts to rural media and global health. Democrats contended that slashing public broadcasting and foreign aid during a Texas flood crisis amid FEMA questions could undercut confidence in the federal government's core mission. Crypto Week kicked off in the House with passage of the Genius Act for stablecoins, the Clarity Act for market structure, and the Anti-Central Bank Digital Currency Surveillance State Act. Bitcoin surged to $120,000 plus amid optimism over regulatory clarity for digital assets, signaling major investment flows. Appropriations and oversight tensions. Senate appropriators kicked off FY 2026 spending markups Thursday, starting with transportation, HUD, and energy, water. House subcommittees began markups Monday through Thursday across key domains, including Interior, Environment, National Security, State, and Commerce, Justice, Science. Committees are working toward the July 30th target on FY 26 bills. FCA International takes to Capitol Hill on July 15th to 16th, 2025. 16 FCA International members attended the annual legislative fly-in to Washington, D.C., giving them the opportunity to meet with over 30 members of Congress, as well as participating in a tax reform, tariff, and trade meeting with the White House Office of the Public Liaison. During their congressional meetings, members discussed important issues affecting subcontractors and the broader construction sector involved in construction projects. Those issues included change orders. We support the Small Business Payment for Performance Act of 2025, which would require prompt payment to contractors for change orders. The federal government must do more to address enforcement of prompt payment to subcontractors and suppliers. P3 bonding requirements. We support the Water Infrastructure Subcontractor and Taxpayer Protection Act of 2025, H.R. 1285/S. 570, which seeks to affirm that existing payment and performance security requirements extend to infrastructure projects financed through the Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, WIFIA, including public-private partnerships, P3S. Refined tax reform. We support efforts to restore tax rate parity for all businesses and make individual tax rates, pass-through deductions, and tax extenders permanent. We support the Main Street Tax Certainty Act, H.R. 703/S.213, which would permanently extend Section 199A of the Internal Revenue Code. Additionally, we oppose the death tax. Thereby, we support the Death Tax Repeal Act of 2025, H.R. 1301/S.587. Infrastructure Expansion Act of 2025. We support H.R. 3548, the Infrastructure Expansion Act of 2025, which would reform New York's antiquated liability law on federally funded projects, reduce taxpayer costs, and promote more construction and jobs in New York. This legislation would preempt state law and align New York with 49 other states, which utilize a comparative negligence standard to assess fault when injuries occur on a construction site. Misclassification of employees as independent contractors. We support the tightening of laws to stop misclassification of employees as independent contractors and close loopholes for tax avoidance and payroll fraud. Prevailing wage. We support prevailing wage provisions in current law, and we oppose the repeal of the Davis-Bacon Act. Thereby, we oppose the Davis-Bacon Repeal Act, H.R. 425/S. 100. House Construction Procurement Caucus. We support this caucus as a vehicle to address construction procurement policies and practices in the public and private sectors. OSHA announces penalty and debt collection procedures. OSHA announced it has updated its guidance on penalty and debt collection procedures in OSHA's Field Operations Manual, FOM. The updates are intended to minimize the burden on small businesses and increase prompt hazard abatement. Under the new policies, employers with up to 25 employees can access a penalty reduction of 70%. Previously, this was only reserved for businesses with 10 or fewer employees. Additionally, OSHA is providing a 15% penalty reduction for employers who immediately take steps to address or correct a hazard. Lastly, the changes include a 20% penalty reduction for employers who have never been inspected by either the federal OSHA or an OSHA state plan, as well as employers who have been inspected in the past 5 years and had no serious, willful, or failure to abate violations. These new policies are effective immediately. They apply to open investigations in which penalties haven't yet been issued, as well as any new investigations that arise. The new penalty structure, however, does not apply to any penalties issued before July 14, 2025.